This is a chicken coop and chicken run I built a few years back with all recycled and upcycled parts, like pallets and shingles and other stuff I picked up on Craigslist. It's been fantastic for the better part of like 5 years now without any security issues. However, recently, this door, which I never got around to upgrading, has gotten some holes in it, and a few chickens were missing. You can see how this door is really not a door in the traditional sense. It's just part of a chicken wire fence that's sort of double layered and attached together by a few pieces of pressure treated wood, and it hangs somewhat against a sort of a makeshift door frame. Over time, some of this fence started falling apart a little bit near the door with metal fatigue over the years. This was inevitably going to happen. So raccoons started showing up on the trail cam recently, followed by piles of feathers where chickens used to hang out. You can see how rickety this old door became right before I pulled it off, so it suddenly became time to make some urgent upgrades to the door. I locked up the chickens in the main wooden part of the coop while I fixed the door. First things first, I used some heavy-duty wire clippers to cut a hole for a new door. Pretty soon, I had a nice hole big enough for a small door, but not quite tall enough for me. Although that's okay, I'd rather have a smaller door and less area for raccoons to make a new hole. Then, in keeping with the idea of using all recycled materials for this build, I started to gather up some old hardware like hinges and latches for the door. All I could find in the yard were some pretty rusty pieces, so I'd have to de-rust them first. I typically use white vinegar and a little bit of salt for a day or two to get rid of most of the rust, at least to get it to a functional point. We're not trying to win a beauty contest here, and besides, I sort of like the rustic look. And you can see after de-rusting, the parts move just fine. So after measuring the hole for my door, I cut up a bunch of old pressure-treated wood and some other wood I had floating around to make a sturdy frame and a rough skeleton of a structure I could use to support some chicken wire with only a few connecting pieces. I made the door somewhat tight-fitting and made it upside down to make sure it would all fit together nice and snug once I put it all back together. And the good thing about working with it on the floor inside the house is that we all know the parts are going to be flat and level to each other. I can then use a heavy-duty stapler to attach some strong chicken wire with a double layer on the bottom. And after stapling and hammering down the staples, I added another thinner layer of wood to cover up the staples and loose chicken wire ends, and at the same time make the whole thing a bit stronger. Then I turned it back right side up again and mounted the hinges. In this case, 3 relatively heavy-duty hinges, since it's a little bit heavy. The hinges are a little long, and so they also serve the double purpose of helping to make these horizontal pieces hold a little stronger to the door. And then I mounted this locking latch and tested it. A little WD-40 and all the hinges and latches and everything moved really smoothly. I did all this work in the basement since I knew it would probably take a couple of days to deal with it. And so I moved it all as one single mounted piece out to the coop in the backyard and tested to make sure it would fit and work just fine. I used a few long wood screws, a few inches long, to mount the whole frame to the coop. And then you can see on the other side, I used the heavy-duty stapler to attach the fencing to the other side of the frame. It looks a little terrible, but that's okay because we can cover the whole thing up with a thin piece of pressure-treated wood to cover up all that mess and also strengthen the attachment. And that's that. It's a beautiful little door, and the chickens are happy without fear of the raccoons breaking in. We'll test it out one more time, and the door opens and closes nice and smooth. Now on to the next project. If you want to see the full chicken coop build and other videos about raising chickens or how to de-rust old equipment and more, check out the links below in the description. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe.